So, let's dive into the intriguing world of creeds and doctrines. It's fascinating how, despite the modern trend of critiquing or even discounting them, they still hold significant relevance in spiritual life today.
That's interesting. I mean, in a world where people often say they're spiritual but not religious, why do you think creeds still matter?
Great question. Think of creeds as a kind of spiritual map. They guide us, offering a framework to understand complex beliefs. Imagine you're on a road trip without a map or GPS. You might enjoy the adventure, but you'd likely get lost. Creeds provide that direction, helping us navigate our spiritual journey.
Like a compass for the soul. But, aren't they a bit outdated? I mean, these creeds were written ages ago.
True, they are ancient, but that's part of their beauty. They connect us to a rich history of thought and belief. It's like reading a classic novel. The language might be old, but the themes are timeless. Plus, they spark engagement. When we wrestle with them, we grow. It's like a mental workout for our faith.
I see. So they're like a gym for the mind and spirit. But what about people who find certain lines hard to believe? How do they reconcile that?
That's where it gets really interesting. The word believe in these creeds originally meant something closer to belove. It's less about intellectual agreement and more about trust and relationship. Think of it like a marriage vow. You're not just acknowledging your partner exists, you're committing to them, flaws and all.
Wow, that's a powerful analogy. So it's more about the heart than the head, but what if someone just can't get past certain parts?
That's perfectly okay. The beauty of creeds is that they invite us to question and explore. They're not rigid rules, but starting points for deeper understanding. It's like a conversation starter at a dinner party. You don't have to agree with everything, but it gets you talking and thinking.
I love that. It's like they're inviting us to a lifelong dialogue. So even if someone is spiritual but not religious, engaging with creeds can still enrich their journey?
Absolutely. They offer a depth of wisdom and a connection to a broader community. Whether you're inside or outside a particular faith, creeds can be a valuable tool for reflection and growth. Now, let's travel back in time to the ancient Near East, a fascinating period where the religious landscape was, well, quite chaotic. Imagine a bustling marketplace, not with goods, but with ideas and beliefs, each vying for attention.
Wow, that sounds intense. So what was it like back then? Were people just picking and choosing beliefs like items off a shelf?
In a way, yes. From Greece to India and down through Egypt, there was an explosion of philosophies and religious movements. It was a time rich with imaginative thinking, but also a bit of a mess. Picture it like a giant potluck dinner where everyone brings a dish, but no one knows what's in any of them.
Haha, sounds like a recipe for confusion. So how did the early Christians fit into all this?
The early followers of Jesus saw themselves as reformers of Judaism. They started in synagogues, but as Paul traveled and spread the message to the Gentiles, things began to shift. Different Christian communities emerged, each with their own interpretations and teachings.
So it was like having multiple versions of the same story, each with its own twist?
Exactly. And that led to some serious confusion. Some teachings were even completely opposite to one another. It became clear that there needed to be a way to clarify what this new faith was all about.
I see where this is going. That's where the creeds come in, right?
Precisely. The creeds were developed as statements of faith to unify and clarify the teachings of Christianity. The Apostles' Creed, the Nicene Creed, and the Athanasian Creed became foundational. They were like the official recipe cards in our chaotic potluck, ensuring everyone was on the same page.
Got it. So they were essential for creating a cohesive identity among the early Christians?
Yes, they provided a common ground, a way to articulate the core beliefs of Christianity amidst a sea of differing ideas. They helped to preserve the integrity of the faith as it spread across different cultures and languages.
It's amazing how something so structured could emerge from such chaos. It really shows the power of having a clear foundation.
Absolutely. And while we might critique them today, these creeds played a crucial role in shaping the spiritual landscape we know now. They were the anchors in a stormy sea of ideas. Building on the historical context, let's explore the idea of creeds as metaphorical maps. You see, creeds aren't the destination. They're the guideposts that help us navigate our spiritual journey.
So they're like a GPS for the soul. That's an interesting way to look at it.
Exactly. Imagine setting out on a road trip without any directions. You might stumble upon some beautiful places, but you could also end up lost. Creeds provide the structure and direction needed to explore the vast landscape of faith.
I like that analogy. But what happens if people just follow the map without thinking about where they're going?
That's a great point. The map isn't the territory itself. It's crucial to engage with the creeds actively, not just follow them blindly. They should spark curiosity and reflection, encouraging us to question and deepen our understanding.
So it's like using a map to plan your own adventure rather than just sticking to the beaten path?
Precisely. Engaging with creeds can foster a mature spiritual life. They challenge us to think critically about our beliefs and how they apply to our lives. It's about finding your own path within the framework they provide.
That makes sense. So by wrestling with these ideas, we actually grow in our faith?
Absolutely. It's like a workout for the spirit. The more we engage, question, and explore, the stronger our faith becomes. Creeds are there to guide us, but it's up to us to take the journey.
I love that. It's empowering to think that we can use these ancient texts as tools for personal growth.
Indeed. They connect us to a rich tradition while also inviting us to make our own discoveries. In this way, creeds are living documents, constantly interacting with our personal experiences and insights. Now, let's dive into a fascinating aspect of creeds, the word believe. In today's world, this word often trips people up. It's seen as requiring intellectual agreement with every line, which can be a stumbling block for many.
Yeah, I can see that. Believe sounds so absolute, like you have to check off every box without question.
Exactly, and that's where the struggle comes in. But what if we shift our perspective from believe to belove? This change emphasizes trust and relationship rather than mere intellectual assent.
Oh, I like that. Beloved sounds more relational, like it's about connecting with the heart rather than just the head.
That's the idea. When we belove, we're engaging in a relationship. It's like the difference between knowing facts about someone and actually being in a loving relationship with them.
So it's kind of like the difference between reading a biography and actually living with someone, right?
Exactly. Belove invites us to enter into a dynamic relationship with the divine. It's about trust, commitment, and love, much like a marriage vow. You're not just acknowledging each other's existence, you're pledging your life to one another.
That makes it so much more meaningful. It's not just about agreeing with a set of statements, but about engaging with them on a deeper level.
Precisely. This shift can transform how we interact with creeds. Instead of feeling pressured to agree with every detail, we can focus on the underlying relationship and trust they point us towards.
I love how that opens up space for questions and exploration. It makes faith feel more like a journey than a checklist.
Absolutely. It's about embracing the mystery and depth of faith, allowing it to grow and evolve as we do. Belove encourages us to see creeds as invitations to a lifelong dialogue with the divine. Let's shift gears and talk about something that's often overlooked: the power of ordinary faith. In a world that glorifies the extraordinary, we sometimes forget the profound value of the everyday.
That's so true. It feels like if you're not doing something radical or groundbreaking, your faith doesn't count as much.
Exactly. But here's the thing. Ordinary faith is incredibly powerful. It's in the small, everyday moments that we often find the deepest connection with the divine.
So you're saying that the simple act of, say, being kind to a neighbor or finding peace in a quiet moment can be just as significant as those big, dramatic acts of faith?
Absolutely. Think about it. Jesus himself lived a profoundly ordinary life for most of his years. He worked, ate, slept, and engaged with his community. It's in these ordinary moments that he found and demonstrated divine presence.
I love that perspective. It makes faith feel more accessible, like it's something we can live out in our daily routines.
Exactly. By embracing the ordinary, we find that every moment is an opportunity to connect with God. It's about seeing the sacred in the mundane and recognizing that our everyday lives are full of divine potential.
That's so freeing. It takes the pressure off trying to be extraordinary all the time and lets us find meaning in the here and now.
Yes, and that's where true spiritual growth happens. When we offer our ordinary lives as a gift to God, we open ourselves to a deeper, more authentic faith experience.
It's like finding the divine in doing the dishes or taking a walk. Those moments become sacred when we approach them with intention and openness.
Exactly. Ordinary faith invites us to live fully in each moment, recognizing that God is present in every aspect of our lives, not just the extraordinary ones. To wrap up our conversation, let's dive into a personal journey that illustrates the transition from a self-made spiritual path to embracing organized religion. It's a story about finding deeper meaning beyond the confines of individual spirituality.
I'm all ears. Personal stories really bring these concepts to life. What was the turning point in this journey?
Well, it began with a sense of restlessness. I was living a life guided by my own moral compass, which seemed liberating at first. I could pick and choose beliefs that suited me, much like assembling a personal playlist of spirituality.
That sounds appealing, but I imagine it might get confusing after a while, right?
Exactly. It was like trying to navigate without a map. The freedom to choose quickly turned into a lack of direction. I realized that my self-made path was more about avoiding discomfort than seeking truth.
So, what led you to consider organized religion as an alternative?
It was the realization that my moral relativism left me feeling unanchored. I craved a deeper connection, something that transcended my personal whims. I began to see the value in a community bound by shared beliefs and traditions.
That makes sense. It's like finding a home after wandering for so long. How did you navigate the shift?
It wasn't easy. I had to confront my own biases and misconceptions about organized religion. But as I engaged with the teachings and practices, I discovered a richness and depth that I hadn't found on my own.
It sounds like embracing religion offered you a framework for exploring those deeper questions.
Exactly. It provided a sense of belonging and a foundation for my spiritual growth. The rituals and creeds, which I once viewed as restrictive, became pathways to a more profound understanding of faith.
That's a powerful transformation. It's inspiring to see how structured beliefs can lead to personal freedom and fulfillment.
Absolutely. This journey taught me that true freedom comes from engaging with something greater than ourselves. Organized religion, with its shared wisdom and community, offered me a way to connect with the divine in a meaningful way.